Right, so last year I took an essay class in school, and in there we have to write essays and do this and that. And one of the speeches that we had to write was a valedictorian essay, and so this is what it is. And of course, I'm not even close to being a valedictorian. That was never, I never intended to be that. If anything, it was probably closer to the lower end. But here I go. Principal, faculty members, family, friends, and fellow graduates. Today is the day. Every time I think of giving a thank you like speech, I always imagine myself receiving an Oscar and saying the typical words, thank you, thank you, thank you, to the Academy for this and that. And quite frankly, this is an academy. Well, today's the day when we get to finally say it's over. And that's a huge relief. I remember myself on January 8th, and thoughts about wanting this whole thing to be over were everywhere. Now, I'd say it's over. Today I want to talk about 3 things that have been important in my life. Yes, not a big deal. Just 3 things that have been important in my life. The first thing is a question that has always haunted me. What's the meaning of life? I remember I was very little. At the time I was 4 or 5 years old. And I asked my mom this big question not even adults have figured out. What's the meaning of life? My mom looks back at me, and I can just see on her expression that she was like, what the heck is this kid thinking? And then she asked me, were you eating paper or something? Just kidding, she didn't say that. But she did look at me with a weird face that showed a combination of a little confusion and not knowing what to say. I wasn't knowing, and I asked her the following day, what's the meaning of life? She said, well, Juan David, humans are born to reproduce, and they die. So I said to myself, all right. So when do I start reproducing? Didn't say that, of course. Just kidding. At the time I was 5 years old, and that was a pretty decent answer that calmed my curious mind for a while. I continued asking this question, and of course, I continued getting those weird faces. I can now say that I have an answer for you. I have figured out. The meaning of life is, are you ready to hear this? The meaning in life is, there's no meaning in life. Fundamentally, this question is flawed, and I have arrived to that conclusion to that. There isn't a meaning in life. This is one of those questions where the question is more important than the answer, and it is in pursuing the answer that you get to discover pretty remarkable things about you and about the world. There's no meaning in life. There is meaning in your life. And that is something that you need to ask yourself personally. The second thing that I want to talk to you about today is the time I volunteered at a nearby hospital. My job was to help really old people who were alone in their last days before they die. My job was more or less to take care of them, ask them how they were doing, and simply be a companion. Simply being there. At first, I didn't want to do this. I thought, I want to be with young, interesting friends, not with these old, boring people. Not only did I learn a lesson that I lived my life after volunteering at this hospital with old, boring people, but I also learned something more important. I learned this. As I would talk to them, I started to see a very clear pattern, and the pattern was that these people were literally on their deathbed. And they all regretted about the things they didn't do. My friends, regret is a terrible thing. It's a feeling that even though you knew that you could have done it, you didn't do it because you were afraid. and you let your fears take over your life. Do you want to go skydiving? Go do it. Do you want to ask for a raise? Go do it. Do you want to ask a person out? Go do it. Do you want to try out a sport or art? Go do it. Because I'll tell you what, you're going to die, and when a volunteer is with you in your deathbed, you will be proud that you try. And even though your boss might have refused to give you a raise, or the person that you wanted to ask out might have said no, you will be happy. While negative outcomes are certainly a possibility, if you never try, you will never get to know if it could have actually happened. Hint, most of the time, the outcome is even positive. Number 3, last but not least, is a third thing I want to talk to you about today. I have been someone who has taken risks and have learned to take risks. I have been considered by some people as stupid, and I have certainly failed miserably. When I say miserably, I say pretty miserably. I have realized one thing, is that I should keep being crazier, bolder, and stupider. But how do you do this? How can you take these risks? How can you afford being called stupid? I have learned this. Nobody cares. Perhaps our more proper way to say this is that nobody gives a shit. This is true and will continue to be true. We think we matter, and we all think we are somebody, but I can tell you this. The happiest and most successful people learn to not care. You see, in life, there are 2 periods when you're free from discourse. It is a time where you're little, and it is a time where you're old. Remember those times when you were like 5 years old and you peed your pants and maybe your bed too? I didn't. I never did this. Just kidding. I still do it, and a few times a year. And there was a time where you didn't care about anything but being happy. I want to end by saying this. Hey, go and ask yourself, what is the meaning of life? The answer to the question will give you a competitive advantage in college and beyond. The answer will influence your decisions based on your happiness. Once you know what the meaning of your life is, go and live your life with no regrets. And of course, don't do severally stupid things. And you know what I mean when I say that. But rather do things that bring meaning to your life. Start a project, start a family, spend time with family and friends. At the end, we're all going to die. And lastly, do not care about what people think of you. They are as insecure as you are. They are as dumb as you are. But listen to what I say, but take the shortcut. Get ahead and start being happy. And remember, life will be very hard. And to that, I say, all right, just keep living and keep being optimistic. Thank you.